So today our topic is learn how the most forward-thinking universities are using mobile English tests. This is a rerun from our very popular webinar that we actually held last week. So throughout this presentation, you'll also be hearing from our panelists and Ibu Anis from the Ministry of Education that we will play from last week. And hopefully this is a fruitful and engaging webinar for everybody here. So a little bit of me. My name is Avelena. I am the Director of Global Development for British Council EnglishScore. I'm actually Indonesian, but I spent the past 10 years working for international education in various countries, and also especially in the past 5 years in assessment and English testing. I've actually been I've lived in several countries working for English testing, so very excited to be here today meeting with universities and the higher education practitioners in Indonesia. So today you'll also be hearing from our panel, Ibu Lina Herlina, who is the Head of Language Center at Universitas Nusa Putra, and also Bapak Condra Antoni, which is the Head of General Study at Politeknik Negeri Batam. Now, these two universities are our EnglishScore approved partner, and you'll be hearing from them today as well. So we'll begin by hearing from Ibu Anis Apriliawati, who is working at the Director General for Higher Education for the Ministry of Education Indonesia. I'll be playing her video from her opening remarks from last week.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is my pleasure to give an opening remark for the British Council EnglishScore's Innovation Series webinar titled Learn How Forward-Thinking Universities Are Using Mobile English Tests to the audience of distinguished lecturers, head of language centers, and other education practitioners in Indonesia. My name is Anis Apriliawati, and I'm the sub-coordinator of overseas scholarship programs for lecturers and educational staffs of the Indonesian Ministry of Education, Culture, Research, and Technology. Back in May 2021, I came across the British Council's newest English test, the EnglishScore, while looking for a possible solution for the ministry's popular talent scouting program for Indonesian lecturers aspiring to study PhD overseas. As COVID-19 continued to rampage across the world and forced the closures of many physical test centers, the ministry needed a solution to ensure that the talent scouting program can continue the selection process for the many lecturers that are spread across Indonesia. Fortunately, technology and innovation have reached the world of assessment as well. And with our inclusion of EnglishScore to the talent scouting program, the selection process can continue with minimal disruption. Ladies and gentlemen, in the past year, we have all been forced to adopt technology in its various ways, including talent scouting program's adoption of EnglishScore. As educators, it is our duty to ensure that students' learning journeys remain as smooth and impactful as possible, despite whatever challenges are thrown at us. This aligns with the Merdeka Belajar Kampus Merdeka, or Freedom of Learning Independent Campus, a policy introduced by our Minister Nadiem Makarim. In the world of education, many education technology solutions emerge. With the same mindset, it is also our responsibility to keep up with the times and adopt suitable technologies to fit our needs. As our beloved country, Indonesia, transforms into Industry 4.0, we must be more efficient, competitive and innovative in our ways of thinking and process. Many of these can be achieved with the adoption of technology and continuous innovation. Quoting Minister Nadiem Makarim during a conference of Indonesian Rectors Forum in July 2020, changes cannot be just one direction. One aspect should connect with the others. And thus, synergy, synchronization, and collaboration between stakeholders of education is a must. I therefore would like to say thank you to the language teaching community for continuing your work and finding innovative ways in the past year, as proven with your eagerness to attend today's webinar. My message to you is to continue to work hard and stay on top of innovation in language learning, teaching, and assessment. On that note, I would like to formally open today's webinar. Thank you to all the wonderful panelists, Ibu Lina, Herlina, and Pak Condra Antoni for sharing your experiences today. Pak Condra Antoni is the alumni of our DGES Overseas Doctoral Scholarship Program. So I believe that his experience will be of some benefit to the audience. I also would like to thank the British Council and the EnglishScore teams and all attendees today. I hope you all have a great and meaningful session.
Thank you very much, Ibu Anis, for such a wonderful opening remarks, and what wonderful messages as well. Obviously, the past year has been tremendously hard for the education and the teaching community, and the language centers in Indonesia have worked really hard to ensure that everybody, all the students, still get a good level of service. And thank you for coming to this webinar as we actually explore the various innovative ways that language centers can be on top of in terms of innovation and language assessment for the future of our students in Indonesia as well. Okay, so I'd like to begin by talking a little bit about this importance of higher education institution in this three-way diagram. So we all know that students are preparing themselves to get into the workforce. So to do that, higher education institution actually plays a very important role of filling in the gap of what are the skills that are actually lacking and preparing the students for the workforce itself. Likewise, employers also play a role of actually informing the skills that are actually necessary for the students to actually practice and acquire during their studies at the education level. However, what are the actual most in-demand skills for 2021 that are identified by employers? So we are looking at here at the result out of the survey done by resumegenius.com, which actually outlined that these are the 6 most in-demand skills for 2021. As you can see here, communication is actually quite important for employers. Now, why is communication very important, and why is language as a part of communication very important for employment? So I would like to give you an example here. This is actually my colleague Zed, who is our client success specialist at British Council EnglishScore. Zed graduated from Universitas Brawijaya. Zed actually spent 1 summer working for the Embassy of Indonesia in Copenhagen. Now, we all know that Denmark's first language is Danish. So how does that work and interact with the Danish community in Copenhagen and actually work on his day-to-day life and talking to different stakeholders, different Danish stakeholders? I think we all know the answer here. English is the common language that is used by both parties to unlock this opportunity to actually communicate between these 2 languages. Now, globally, 1.75 billion people worldwide speak English at a useful level. This shows the growing importance of English as a lingua franca for people all over the world to actually communicate with each other. Now I'm going to play you a video from Professor Sedal Neely, who is the Professor of Business Administration at Harvard Business School, on the importance of English at the workplace.
What's the benefit for companies of having a common language?
Well, companies need a language strategy, especially if they have any type of global aspiration. When you have an employee base that's spread across the world, across geographies, across national boundaries, you need to find a way to get them to communicate. And how do you do that if you don't have some form of a language strategy or a common language? And what's happening too today is that companies are very quickly starting to adopt English as a common language, or a lingua franca is the term as well. And they're doing that in order to serve customers, in order to have better partner relationships, and their competitors are doing it as well.
So certainly that's quite a compelling message from Professor Sedal Neely from Harvard Business School on the importance of English as a lingua franca that is growingly and increasingly used by employers across the world. Now, we also come to this challenge on how do our graduates, how do the students actually show to the employers that they can actually communicate in English? And proving your English level, proving the students' English level is actually quite important, as it opens a lot of doors for the students themselves. So this is a research that our team conducts, very, very simple research. What we looked at is 4 jobs on LinkedIn, which is the most popular social media for workplace and businesses. And we looked for jobs that actually required English for fresh graduate. And we actually found that more than 55% of fresh graduate job listings on LinkedIn require English proficiency as one of the primary prerequisites. And because of that, we believe that a valid, globally recognized certificate helps students and is a best indicator for an employer to recognize the proficiency of English of the students. There are various ways, there are many tests in the market, and in fact, at the British Council, we have 3 tests that students can actually pick depending on their needs to prove their level of English. So with British Council IELTS, that's our high stakes exam for study and migration. And then we have the APTIS as well, which is a robust 4 skills assessment. And then we also have EnglishScore now, which is our most affordable and innovative mobile test and certificate, specially catered for workplace English and English for employability. Now, I know that a lot of our Language Center friends here know about English tests, and we now wanted to explore a little bit to the world pre-COVID on English testing delivery. I'm sure that this picture is quite familiar for many universities. This is the language lab or the testing lab of one of the universities in Indonesia. Pre-COVID, tests are organized this way. So it is a standardized environment with sterile procedure. When students come in, they are basically asked to perhaps leave their belongings and do certain procedures. It is usually offline proctored, meaning there are trained invigilators constantly proctoring the test as it goes. Students from wherever they are have to travel to the location at a certain time, at a certain place, and also they take it together. It's a mass testing in one place with other test takers. At the same time, the world pre-COVID also has a remote model. The remote model is already there even beyond pre-COVID times. And the remote model actually uses the test taker's own environment for them to actually use the test. It has online procedures, specific online procedures that are designed to deter cheating. It's very convenient for the test taker because they can take it in a place that's most convenient to them, likely their home. And also because it's comfortable at an environment that they are used to, their exam anxiety is also greatly reduced as well. To understand more about remote proctoring, there are 3 types of remote proctoring. The first one is a live proctored exam. This is where you have somebody proctoring live using video conferencing software to actually monitor the test taker as they do the test. Usually this is also coupled with a lockdown browser that prevents the test taker from going into another application. And then we also have AI proctoring, which is using a computer and machine learning to detect security breaches of the test taker when they're doing the tests. And then the third one is recorded proctoring, where the camera captures a video or photo of the test takers throughout the entire duration of the test. And then those pictures or those video are actually audited after the test is done to check for any security breaches or any test misconduct. So what about the challenges that COVID-19 bring? In March 2020, there's a massive lockdown across the globe, and there are closures of higher education institutions and public institutions across the world, including here in Indonesia. At the same time, there's a growing urgent acceptance of tests that are already online in the market. By April 2020, remote proctored English tests started to appear, tests that are normally held in person at the test center started to go online. At the same time, as I'm sure that all our education practitioners friends here know, a lot of the learning actually migrate online too with the use of internet and technology. And where does that take us to? It takes us to today, where a year and a half later, more English tests are delivered online. And we're starting to understand the importance of balancing the test security aspect and the privacy aspect of the test takers. And then at the same time, we start to normalize, and we are starting to be very accepting, and we actually think of online learning, online assessment as very normal and as a part of our day-to-day work in the education sector. Now, I'm going to ask our attendees today, did your campus close during the pandemic? You should see a poll that appeared on your Zoom asking you about did your campus close during the pandemic? We're gonna give 1 minute, 30 seconds to 1 minute for everybody to answer this. Okay, answers are coming in now. Interesting. So actually, the poll shows that no one was open throughout the entire duration. Most are fully closed, or they are actually operating in a hybrid mode. So maybe 1 or 2 days in classroom and the rest online. That's very, very interesting. And so the next slide is really talking about this. As in this case, as all of you know, the closure of higher education facilities have a great impact to the language centers and the language lab. That means that language centers can reopen, and at the same time, testing availability is also affected by this. Because when the public education, when the public sector and the higher education close, when the campuses close, many private companies reopen with limited capacity. However, many students have actually gone back home. Maybe they go to their home city and decided to actually stay there until the lockdown ends, which means that even when the test center do open sporadically, a lot of students feel uncertain about traveling. At the same time, we know that there are many workaround online solutions that the universities start to adopt to actually start delivering both learning and tests online as well. However, up to today, we've seen a number of reopening, but throughout the past 1.5 years, most campuses remain closed. Even though the language centers and the test centers are closed, the demand and the need to test remain high. As you can see on the left-hand side here, this is a piece of news from Gulf News that says COVID-19 fails to then demand for English language tests. Students still have the need to continue testing, whether that's to actually study overseas or to look for employment, or as a part of their graduation requirement. Students still have a good need and a great need to actually do the English language test. We also know that a lot of the online delivery throughout the COVID-19 pandemic comes with its own challenges. So even though it offers the convenience of test taking for test takers in the pandemic in their own location, the solutions are not always perfect. First of all, we know that some students don't have access to laptops. Maybe they don't have access to a laptop on their own. Maybe they have a desktop and then they don't have a webcam. And then the second one is there's also the hassle of needing to download a third-party application. And then the third one is without the right technology, it can be very work-intensive. We actually had a conversation with a company who does English assessment on a constant basis with it for its employees. And what they did was they migrated to Zoom, and they had to spend hours and hours monitoring the students while they're taking the test. And then after the test is done, they got another person to actually audit that, watches that recording it again and again, which can be very tiresome for the HR practitioners, for the companies, and for the people that are responsible for English assessment. And the last one is sometimes there's also the challenge about the test taker environment and privacy. If they're taking the test in a house with a lot of people, or if they don't have a private room for them to take the test, that can also be very challenging for the test takers. That takes us to the future of English assessment. And we'd like to talk to you a little bit today about mobile as a solution. Now, mobile delivery is actually quite an innovative way of delivering the English test for the future, and it is here to stay. If we looked at the facts in Indonesia, 34% of Indonesian students do not have access to computers for schoolwork, whereas almost 67% of the population owns a mobile phone. So, what are the benefits of mobile online delivery as a solution, as an innovative solution for this? In terms of technology, currently, all phones have the front-facing camera, which means that it's easier for proctoring to happen. The second one is technology now can also incorporate a large number of item banks, making sure that the test items do not rotate or do not reappear at a large proportion when the students take the test a second time, and so on. In terms of affordability, we know that mobile phone is a lot more affordable, is a lot more cheaper than purchasing a laptop. In fact, in Indonesia here, whenever we go to malls or we go to various places, we know that the mobile phone providers are increasingly giving higher spec with prices that are more competitive. The third one is also accessibility. As Ibu Anis highlighted earlier, with mobile phone delivery, with its direct connection to the internet using the mobile cell provider, you can take the test wherever and whenever as well. This is also why the talent scouting program used us, because of that accessibility factor, meaning that test takers across Indonesia, candidates, applicants can actually access the test wherever and whenever they are. And the last one is ease of administration. As a lot of the language centers can tell us, using mobile means that it is very easy for them to administer the test. It saves a lot of time and money for the language center. They don't have to closely proctor it. They don't have to create item bank. They don't have to score it anymore. This is all taken care of technology, and the language center has more time actually doing analysis of the result or making sure that students have a good understanding of what is their learning journey instead of putting a lot of effort into test administration. Beyond delivery, there are innovation in other things. So we know that test delivery is just one aspect of assessment. We know that there are other operational aspects, including item development, psychometrics, and scoring. For scoring, for example, we know that there's a human-rated scoring, automated scoring, and now we are actually at EnglishScore, we're actually using a hybrid of artificial intelligence and peer-to-peer assessment. Now, we're not going to talk about this today, but this is certainly a very interesting topic for practitioners in this area to understand the innovation in how do we combine peer-to-peer assessment and AI as well for our scoring mechanism. Now that would be for our next innovation webinar, so stay tuned for your emails for the next webinar. But we're not going to stop here. Actually, we're going to go into our panel that we recorded from last week. Our panelists are Ibu Lina from Universitas Nusa Putra. She is the head of Language Center and has been using EnglishScore as a solution for her university. And also Pak Condra Antoni, who is the head of General Studies at Politeknik Negeri Batam, where they also use EnglishScore as a solution for their students in the past several months. Okay, I'm going to play the panel discussion now. And I am going to actually invite our panelists, Bapak Condra and Ibu Lina, with some of the questions. So basically, we'll be asking you each one question, and if you both can each answer it, that would be great. So I will start with the first one. I will ask Bapak Condra first on this. What prompted you to choose mobile delivery for your English language test?
Well, so actually, the first reason is the advancement of communication technology. You know, that is the main reason. So students and lecturers or teachers' relationship today is no more between the transmitter and receiver of knowledge and skills, as it was maybe a couple of years ago. So communication technology has dominantly been chosen as a substitute of that kind of relationship. Then the teacher function is more to facilitate students to learn. We at Politeknik Negeri Batam actually has used learning management system, for example, prior to the pandemic. However, since the pandemic, the use of LMS becomes more massive actually. Thank you.
And Ibu Lina, what about you? What prompted you to consider mobile delivery for your English language test?
All right. What prompted us to choose mobile delivery for our English language test is obviously the current situation in which students have been accustomed with online learning, right? This pandemic has forced Language Center, especially here, as a facilitator for English language tests to close. We believe students have found their new comfort zone with online learning and testing method. So in addition, mobile phone is currently no longer a luxurious thing. So it has become a primary need. So we reckon the mobile delivery for English language test is the most efficient and affordable testing method to take by students.
Very exciting. And I like that statement there. As Bapak and Ibu, ladies and gentlemen, you probably have seen this in your campus and with your students. Everybody has a mobile phone and they're using it very, very interactively in their daily life, not only for maybe schoolwork, but also for lifestyle things, Gojek or ride hailing or anything like that. It's very integrated now to their life. So thank you for that comment, Ibu Lina. And I'm sure that translates as well as their familiarity with taking a test in a mobile phone. They just feel that it's more familiar. It's a device that they're very used to. Thank you for that. And I'm going to ask Ibu Lina now. Your institution made this move from an on-site model of what you said earlier with your test center to mobile delivery. Did you have any concern about mobile delivery prior to joining EnglishScore's approved partner program? Was there any hesitancy?
Yes, for sure. I think it's normal that we have such concern when you have to move from an on-site model to mobile delivery, especially when it comes to a test. For instance, the unstable internet connection that may cause the system errors. This situation may lead to the failure of the test being taken by the students. And the worst case is the students may lose their opportunity they have paid to get an English proficiency certificate, right? It was such a nightmare for us, knowing that students failed the test and they had to pay more to take the test again. Then we had the British Council released their new product, namely EnglishScore. We were even eager to know when we knew that EnglishScore is the first and the only mobile delivery for English language test, which is recognized by the world. This test is really, really something that I believe students have been looking for. It's such a relief.
That's great. And Pak Condra, can I also ask you, did you have any concern about mobile delivery prior to joining EnglishScore's approved partner program?
Yes, it was mainly because at the time there were a very limited options for mobile for English tests, which is available in mobile versions. You know that there are some of English test providers that are available on website, and when students use it in mobile versions, there are problems with compatibility between browsers and mobile versions. So I think we need a very good design of mobile version instead of using browser version in mobile phone, for example. So this is the concern. Actually.
That's really interesting. And after that, after the adoption of EnglishScore, I wanted to learn about how did your students react to using a mobile delivered English test, Pak Condra?
We have done a practice test before. We asked the students to do the practice voluntarily. You know that the problem of Indonesia students for English is there is a barrier. Some of them is they are afraid of taking something English related. But when we test it and then we announced it, so a voluntary test. So it was for about 500 students joining voluntarily for practice test. And interestingly, there were also 7 academic support staff who joined the test, and 8 lecturers also joined the practice test. It was quite interesting, I think.
Great. And Ibu Lina, how did your students react to when they first used that mobile delivered English test?
Yeah, first of all, when the students heard British Council EnglishScore, they were very enthusiastic, as everyone knows that British Council is a recognized and credible educational institution. After they took the test, we did kind of survey by delivering questionnaires to know their perspectives about the test because it's new for them. Surprisingly, nearly 100%, I can't believe it, 100% nearly of students feel satisfied with the test. Yes, they were happy because they could take the test all over again until they get a satisfactory score, and then they can take the test wherever and whenever they are convenient. They can also get the instant result, and they feel proud of having the certificate issued by British Council in which the logo of our university is attached.
Wow, that's so great. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the first time I actually hear about it. So obviously I'm very happy to hear that. 100% is such an amazing number. And I'm very glad that they can actually use it for their development in their journey as well. Thank you for that. And I wanted to also ask Bapak Condra now, as a head of Language Center, what do you think are the main benefits? Sorry, you're actually head of General Studies. But I wanted to understand what do you think are the main benefits of mobile delivery so far for the staff, for your team, and for the General Studies office?
Number one is affordable. However, yes, you know that affordable for the students. Not all students have access to computer, as you mentioned before, especially students in state-owned higher education. We know that state higher education becomes a choice by the reason, among others, is they want to have more affordable things and less demanding, for example, in relation to the students' equipment belonging. So, however, we are quite optimistic that all students can have access to mobile phone. Other reasons, budget-wise, that we can use a relatively some amount of budget allocated for on-site tests, but with more students' body coverage. For example, in our Politeknik, we used the budget that was allocated before for 200 students for on-site English tests, and by using English mobile delivery, now we can cover approximately 100 students' body. So I think, yes, it's affordable.
Wow, that's great. So did you say from 200 to 1,000?
From 200 to 1,000.
To 1,000. That's amazing. That's five times fold. That's great. Very happy to hear that. What about you, Lina? What do you think as you're the head of a language center, so what do you think have been the main benefits of mobile delivery for you?
Well, as a head of language center, I personally think that mobile delivery is so much beneficial. It saves my energy, it saves my time, and the most important thing is, like Pak Condra said, that it saves the cost. It's so much different from on-site models, of course. With mobile delivery, my team and I don't have to waste our energy on preparing the test materials. We don't have to do the task marking or scoring, and we don't have to hire proctors. Mobile delivery covers all of those essential elements of the test.
That's great. That's great. And that's also very exciting and very happy to hear you say that, because a lot of our partners also say the same thing. It saves them time, and it really saves the language center a lot of energy as well that's poured into training proctors and all of that.
Yeah.
Great. And my last question is for starting with maybe Lina first. What are your hopes for mobile delivery or assessment in the future?
Well, we've been feeling happy with this method of testing. I hope in the future, mobile delivery of assessment will be used by all educational institutions. So I will really hope that it will remain exist because this will be annual activity in this campus. So the students, all of the students, are required to take this test. And if it is possible, I don't know, it may sound impossible, but I really hope that British Council really similar products to test students' level of other foreign languages. Because here in my campus, there's a program that students have to be able to speak other foreign languages besides English. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Lina. And Pak Condra, what are your hopes for delivery, mobile delivery and assessment in the future?
Yes. In addition to what Lina mentioned, that I also hope that in the future there will be affordable systems to assess 4 language skills altogether: listening, reading, speaking, and writing. So we have a more comprehensive portrait of the students' English proficiency. And that is, however, I mentioned for the 5th time, that is affordable for the students and for us, especially for state-owned higher education. In state-owned higher education, students are not allowed to pay other than tuition fees. So, however, language centers should propose the budget for the certifications by itself to our top management level.
That's great. That's great. And I love that you have a very direct and very clear messaging. It's really the affordability for the students that really appeal to you, and maybe for I certainly can can relate to that sentiment. When it's affordable to students, they're more the anxiety level is better. They're maybe readier for that, and we can reach to more students in Indonesia, no matter where they are at what level are they in. So thank you for that, Pak Condra and Ibu Lina. And that concludes our panel for today. Okay, and that indeed concludes our panel. And I would like to say thank you again for Bapak Condra Antoni and Ibu Lina Herlina for coming to the panel last week. It was very fun talking to them. Okay, so I would like to tell you a little bit about Approved Partner Program, which is a program that both Universitas Nusa Putra and Politeknik Negeri Batam are a part of. So EnglishScore is currently selecting 50 approved partners in Indonesia for the academic year 2021-2022. And the minimum commitment is 500 certificates per year. And in a nutshell, we will be delivering a mobile English test for your graduating students together, which means that there's a co-branded certificate. So every student certificate will have both the British Council logo and your university. You will also get an administrative dashboard that is very useful for you to actually view and manage all your test takers, all your students' test results on that dashboard. And then the last one is you'll also get a financial benefit for your university. Our certificate is actually $20 or approximately 289,000 IDR. 289.000 rupiah. However, for university, we are selling it at a approved partner price of $10 or approximately 144,000 rupiah. So we also would like to make sure that all our attendees today can try our EnglishScore professional certificate. There are 5 free certificates for each participant to use at your discretion. You can give it to your language center friends and colleagues, give it to colleagues in the Prodi or in the faculty. So feel free to do that. All you need to do is download the EnglishScore application, and then you take the test. And then at the end, click Get My Certificate and enter this code ES-Web11 to get your free certificate. Now, the code is actually here, but I believe my colleague has dropped the code there. You can give it to 4 people on top of yourself. So make sure you actually make use of this offer, and definitely let us know as well of your feedback of both the test and the certificate. The code expires, I believe, not on the 5th November, but 11th of November. So you actually have quite some time, about a week to do it. So apologies for the typo, but yes, 11 November is the last date of redeeming the certificate. And so we also would like to ask our attendees, if you're interested in learning more about our Approved Partner Program, there should be a poll. All right, thank you very much. For those that are interested, myself or my colleague Tony Gunawan will be in touch, and we would love to meet you in person or online, and talk to you a little bit more about EnglishScore, our Approved Partner Program, and potential partnerships program with your university. Right. Thank you very much. And I would also like to let you know that the British Council is actually organizing the 4th National Symposium on English Language Assessment with a very interesting topic of stronger, more relevant, more connected, the future of English language assessment in Indonesia. It is happening in about 12 days from now, on the 16th, 17th, and 18th. Make sure that you register through the link. Please take note of the link before I move forward to the next slide. We highly recommend you to come to this event. It is a joint event between British Council Indonesia Foundation and the Teaching Association of TEFLN. Okay, and thank you again for coming to this webinar today. I hope you gain some insights from today's webinar. If you wanted to learn more about EnglishScore, or if you have any question about the webinar today on proctoring, impact, any kind of question, feel free to drop me an email. You could see my email on the screen. It's michelle.avelena@englishscore.com. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you have any question, we'll be here for a couple minutes, and feel free to send us a message directly on the chat box, and one of us will be sure to answer you. Thank you for coming today again, and have an excellent evening. Bye-bye.